Hi, I'm Lisa Shepard Stewart of Cultured Expressions, and today I'll be sharing tips with you on how to work with hand-woven fabrics, and we'll also be making a look-alike of Kuba fabric from Central Africa. So first, what I wanted to show you was the actual Kuba fabric itself. It's made of raffia, palm tree fibers in Central Africa, and what they do is applique, which we're all familiar with. If you're a quilter, you're very familiar with applique, and I'm going to show you how to recreate that look, not with the tree fibers themselves. We're not going to be climbing trees today and getting our own fibers. We're using burlap, which is a great look-alike. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a kind of a quick look at the fabric. It has a great weave, and because they're hand woven, it's a nice earthy kind of a look that I love to work with. The other nice thing about this fabric is, if you look at the stitching, it gives you a chance to kind of use all those stitches that on your machine that you've never been able to use, didn't have a reason for. It's a nice creative way to use those. So we're going to get started with them. But first I'll give you the tips on how to work with the hand wovens. Because they're hand wovens and or the loose weave fabrics. First tip I want to show you is simple stay stitching. When you've cut your piece, it's always nice to have the stay stitching along the edges to keep it from shifting. It kind of helps keep the shape of it. So there's one tip. You can also use fusible interfacings. This one right here, that kind of helps stabilize the fabric. You won't get snags in it, or you won't get the pull threads because they are loosely woven. Here's another example right here. Another great tip for working with the hand wovens is to actually use masking tape or painter's tape when you're cutting. That reduces the fraying on the cut edge. So if you were to cut a little piece, you would cut right between the tape, right down the middle, and then both sides are protected from the fraying. And the last tip I have for you for the hand wovens and the loose woven fabrics is to actually pull a thread. When you want to get the straight grain of the fabric, you can actually pull a thread out of it. If you see right here, I can pick it up, maybe the light will show through. You just taking one thread out on each of the four sides so that you get a nice straight cut. So when you pull that thread out, you're cutting right between that space that's created, and it gives you a perfectly straight grain fabric. Okay, so I did the three sides here. I'll just show you the fourth really quickly. Just gonna kind of gather it up like this. Very simple. You want to go slowly. You don't want to break the thread because that would just be a little bit more difficult to do in the end. But you just want to kind of gather that. And you see here I'm pulling it out, so that kind of gives you the cutting line. And then you go ahead and cut with your regular scissor, and then you have a perfectly straight piece, just as you see right over here. Okay, so now that you've got a few tips on how to do the hand wovens, what I'll do is explain to you how to recreate the look of the Kuba cloth that we're making today. You see here that I've already started with a stay stitched piece. What I've done is straighten the edges, and I've done my stay stitching here on the edge to keep it nice and straight. And I've done kind of a positive-negative effect with the applique. Okay, so to begin this, we're just using fusible web, paper-backed web, which you're probably familiar with, and we've put that on the back of the burlap fabric in both the dark and the light color. And then what we've done is just cut the shapes, or rather draw the shapes out. Okay, they're very free form, which is the nice thing about the Kuba fabric. Some look like letters or numbers or symbols, but you can just easily kind of free form and draw some out. You can also hand cut them, but then if you make a mistake or you're not quite happy with it, the fabric's already cut. So better just to take a marker and draw those out and then cut them out. And then you see here, I've already cut these pieces out. I have a few more to fuse on. So we'll just arrange those. And again, it's pretty basic. It's basic fusing, so you just want to bring this over here. And we'll hit that with the iron. Okay, so we're just fusing. Give a little bit of steam. And again, what's nice about this is there is no correct way to place them. It's whatever your creativity dictates. So it's kind of fun. And also, I've obviously peeled the backing paper off. Let me just show you that again. When you have the paper-backed fusible web, what you would do is trace your piece, you cut them out, and then you've got the paper-back web. You've got the web applied right there. So I've taken the paper off before fusing. So we've got that on there. And now I'd like to show you how to just do the stitching. Again, with the Kuba fabrics, like I said, they're a nice way to reuse some of the stitches that you have on your machine. Okay, so I'm just going to do a couple. This machine here has actually a variety of blanket stitches. Sometimes you'll find that there are lots of different stitches that you want to use. This one actually has several of just the blanket stitch, which is the one I like to use. So I've already set it for a width at 5 and a length at 4. You can make it wider, you can make the stitches longer. It's really very user-friendly. So we're going to begin. Let me just stop right there. And I'm going to set it. There were actually quilting stitches too, so I'm going to use the quilting blanket stitch. Okay, so I'm setting the width at 5, and again the length at 4, which I kind of predetermined that was the width that I liked. And we're using the blanket stitch. Okay, and depending on your level of confidence, you can go a little bit faster or slower. Just vary the speed. What's nice about this stitch is, like I said, you can vary whether it's a wide stitch or a narrow stitch and the length of it. So it gives you a nice kind of a look. This looks actually hand done. I've had people ask me if I had done the stitch by hand. I think what kind of contributes to that is the fact that the pieces are hand cut. So they're not exactly straight, and they give you a nice finish. So we can do that. I'm just going to cut this here just for time, but you would go all the way around with all the shapes. Okay, and you want to go slower when you get to the corners. It's just a little bit easier to do, keep the control. You can also vary the speed on the machine, which gives you a nice level of control on how you're stitching too. It comes out nice and straight. Okay, so now that we've done that, I want to just show you here too. What's nice about using all these stitches is that you can vary the colors that you use. The colors of thread. If you want it to blend in, you would obviously use a color close to the applique color, the patches, or you can use a very high contrast color. It gives you different looks. You can even mix them on one piece. You see, this is my test piece, but it kind of looks nice with all the different colors kind of mixed in. So you can do it however you like. This piece here, again, just shows you different stitches. I went beyond the blanket stitch and kind of used some other stitches that you don't normally use on your machine. So it's a nice, fun way to do that. And again, this is the light appliques on dark, just to give you an idea of how that works. Okay. And now when you want to finish it off, your wall hanging, I have a very simple technique for that, which is you would cut the backing fabric to be 1 inch larger than your finished piece. Okay, so you've got a look like this. So it's about 1 inch all around. And then you're just going to, I'm doing this quickly by hand, but you would actually pin this. You would turn the ends in twice, turn the ends over here in twice. So you're doing just a quick narrow hem. And then you would press it, and then you would just finish it off. I normally finish it off with just a very plain zigzag. It's a very simple technique. It doesn't even show. And you just catch one stitch on either side of the binding and or the fabric, and then you're just about set. Another thing I like to do with the African fabrics, which are my passion, is to use tree branches instead of regular rods. They're just a little more interesting to me. They kind of go with the character of the fabric. And here I've taken a tree branch and just inserted it into the tabs, and then you're complete. Okay, so I hope you'll use these techniques for using hand-woven fabrics more successfully and try to take a stab at the Kuba fabric.